Never let your money sit still in the dark. These were the words my grandfather told me when I proudly showed him my piggy bank. I was confused. Everyone says saving money is the smartest thing you can do. But my grandfather smiled, tapped my piggy bank, and said, "Money sitting still is like mud. It only becomes valuable when you shape it." Then he told me the story of old Arthur. Arthur lived in a village by a rich, clay-filled river. People called him the sitting dreamer. Every day he sat on the riverbank, looking at the mud, dreaming aloud. "One day I will be the greatest potter in the valley. I will have a huge shop and golden coins," he would say. But he never touched the clay. He didn't want to get his hand dirty. He only dreamed while his family lived in poverty. Arthur's wife worked hard, mending clothes for neighbors just to buy a little rice. But as the years passed, life became harder. One rainy night, Arthur's young grandson woke up coughing. The roof was leaking water right onto his bed. The boy, shivering and thirsty, asked for a cup of warm water. Arthur went to the cupboard, but every single clay cup they owned was chipped, cracked, or broken. They couldn't even hold water. Seeing his grandson shivering in the dark, a heavy pain hit Arthur's heart. He realized a painful truth. Dreaming of a grand pottery shop does not fix a leaking roof, and it certainly does not keep a shivering child warm. Arthur couldn't sleep that night. The next morning he left the riverbank and walked to the village quarry. For the first time in his life he asked for hard labor. He carried heavy stones and bricks for the village builders. The work was brutal. The sun scorched his neck, his back throbbed with pain, and his soft hands became blistered and calloused. He worked from sunrise to sunset. When he came home, he was too exhausted to speak. For his pain, the builders paid him a small handful of copper coins. It was a meager wage, but it was honest. Arthur became terrified of being poor again, so he became obsessed with saving. He found an old cracked clay jug and hid it under the floorboards. Every week he dropped his copper coins inside. Clink, clink. To save more, the family ate less. They wore old clothes with holes in them. When his wife asked for money to buy fresh vegetables, Arthur refused. "We must save," he told her. "When the jug is full, we will be safe." Months passed, and finally the heavy clay jug was filled to the top. Arthur felt a deep sense of pride. He believed his family was finally secure. Winter was approaching. Arthur took his heavy jug of coins to the market to buy thick wool blankets, medicine, and enough flour to last the season. He proudly poured his life savings onto the merchant's table. But the merchant frowned and pushed half the coins back. "A terrible storm ruined the crops this year," the merchant explained. "Prices have doubled. This money will only buy you half a sack of flour and one thin blanket." Arthur was devastated. He had worked until his bones ached. He had starved himself to save those coins. But while his savings sat quietly in the dark jug, the world had changed. His savings had lost their power. Arthur walked away from the food stall, staring at his remaining coins. He remembered the muddy riverbank. "Money sitting still is worthless," he whispered to himself. He didn't buy the thin blanket. Instead, he walked to the carpenter and bought a sturdy spinning pottery wheel. He used the last of his coins to buy beautiful colored glazes. He went home, gathered the free clay from the river, and finally got his hands dirty. He spun the wheel day and night, crafting beautiful waterproof cups and bowls. He sold them at the market for a high price and used the profit to buy even more glaze and better tools. Within a year, Arthur didn't just have a full jug of coins, he had a thriving shop. The roof was fixed, and his family never went hungry. One evening, he sat his grandson down at the spinning pottery wheel. He placed a lump of clay in the boy's hands. "Look at this clay," Arthur smiled. "If you leave it in a box, it dries out and crumbles into dust. But if you put it on the wheel and make it spin, it becomes something beautiful and useful." My grandfather looked at me, holding my piggy bank. "Never just save your money, my boy. A jar of coins will slowly lose its value. Invest in yourself. Buy tools, learn a skill, build a business. Make your money spin, and it will grow."